my friends, Gary Goals and fellow poets. Welcome back to Conversing with Poets. I forgot that I wanted to do that, and then I watched the timer go down to 0 and realized that I hadn't prepared to do that funny little intro. And then also I realized that that is going to be copyrighted. It's the Ghostbuster themes. Oh, this blanket. Anyway, I'm all over the place. Hello, my friends, Gary Goers and fellow poets. Welcome back to Conversing with Poets. Let me catch my breath a little bit. Who have we got in tonight? Hello, Raven. Hello, I am Gurf. Hello, Class. Hello, Delgal. Hello, Dazzle. Hello, everybody. Hello, Nightbot. If you haven't already, do listen to Nightbot. If you haven't hit that like button, please do hit that like button. It really helps the channel. If you're watching playback, hit that like button. It's completely free. It takes 2 seconds, but it helps push the channel out. We've actually gained a subscriber during the countdown. So hello, new subscriber. And yes, I did see someone mention it. We are very, very close. Excuse me. We are very, very close to that 7,000. So I'm going to have to dance to Barbie, probably. Let me take these headphones out real quick. God, that's better. I can actually hear. Um, yeah, I said that. Oh, Delgo. What is that? I've never seen that from Nightbot before. Who the heck are you, my evil twin? Stop posting links. Wow. I don't even know what that was about, but apparently Delgo. Nightbot is so aggressive. Jeez. We're gonna have to teach him to calm down a little bit. I don't know what I was saying. I can't even remember what I was saying now, other than I couldn't hear. I got distracted by Nightbot. Nightbot coming in hot there. She didn't post anything bad. I am Gurf. Do you have the power to undo that? View deleted message. I can do that. Let's have a look. Hi, class. All all Delgal did was at class. All she said was hi, class. Can I like hide user on this channel? No. I can't even like undo what Nightbot did. Basically, class Delgirl was saying hello to you, and Nightbot just got a bit aggressive. I think Nightbot is on gear. Anyway, hello. I've completely lost my train of thought. What a crazy intro. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Yeah, please hit that like button. And we are about to hit 7,000. If we hit 7,000 before Christmas, I am definitely dancing to Barbie. And also, I think I'm doing a rubber duck calendar. I don't know how I'm going to pull that one off, but I'm definitely going to be dancing to Barbie. Hello, Genevieve. Thank you for dropping in. Hello, Nikki. Nikki, you just missed some really intense Nightbot action. You might be able to scroll up and see it, or maybe you can see it on the screen. But yeah, Nightbot's taking some testosterone, I think. He's very aggressive. Very aggressive. But basically, there's 8 people watching and only 4 likes. So please do hit that. Do hit that like button. So, before we get started, you guys probably have seen this in my community tab, and you guys were so amazing. It was really, really touching and really, really nice to see. But I need to make a point of doing this whilst we're live and online, and I need to try and remember to do it at the end of the stream. But can we all just take a minute to I know you guys did on the community tab as well, but can we all just take a minute while we're all here together live to just thank I Am Gurf? Because I Am Gurf is doing so much work behind the scenes to help me prep for these streams with topics and stuff like that. I got my little whiteboard. And they're also doing amazing work just trying to uh, keep the chat flowing and throwing links in the chat all the time. And they're just doing amazing work. So thank you so much, I Am Gurf, for all of your help. I appreciate it very, very much. Oh, that's a sexy sub count. Yes, it is. We're almost at 7,000. We're almost at 7,000. It's so good. Sorry, Nikki, finger hit wrong key. That's all good. Yes, thank you, I am Garth. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, part of like the work that me and I and Girth have been doing behind the scenes to kind of take these streams to the next level is a small sort of news bulletin, I guess, a warm-up topic slash news bulletin. We started it last week, and last week's warm-up topic, if you want to call it that, was that the Scottish poet was being commemorated. I've forgotten his surname now, Robbie something, but he inspired Robbie Burns. And another poet that we've spoken about a lot on this channel. It was really, really weird. Back in, I think it was around November, we had a stream about laureateships, and I said in that stream that Benjamin Zephania should be the next national laureate, the poet laureate, and unfortunately we lost him literally a few weeks later. I think it was like 2 streams later. It was crazy timing. But I saw today that Benjamin Zephania is getting a blue plaque at the Birmingham Museum and Art Gallery, which is really, really great. So I just thought that that would be our news bulletin for this stream. Benjamin Zephania is getting a blue plaque. At the age of 13, he couldn't read or write, and then he went on to be such a prominent poet. So yeah, congratulations to Benjamin's legacy, I guess. I quite like the typo. I'll have a chat with my sweet baby Nightbot. He's probably just a bit overexcited about Halloween. Thanks, I am Girth. Really appreciate all that you are doing. Thank you again for being you, all your help. Put him on the naughty chair until he says sorry. I could actually put Nightbot on a timeout. That would be funny. Thank you so much for all those hearts coming in. 7 viewers, 7 likes. I appreciate it, guys. I really do. Oh, he's messing with the wrong person, Nightbot. Nixie, sort him out. That sounds like an 80s rock star name, Nixie. Nixie, I like it. Yeah, you should keep that. Thank you for those hearts. Thank you so much for those hearts. So we'll give it another couple of minutes because I want to hear how you guys have been, how you guys have been keeping, and how your week has been, how your weekend has gone. For those of you in the States that aren't quite ending your weekend just yet, how the rest of your Sunday's going to be. Genevieve, I know if you're still in the chat, thank you so much. I got your chat book today. It's beautiful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you sending me one. The binding, the hand stitch binding is really impressive. I mean, everything about your chat book is really impressive, like the materials you use and stuff. So, yeah, excellent job. I got 2 of 10. I think it was out of 10, right? He's not my kind of poet, but I do have mad respect for the fact he became a professor of poetry without completing formal education. Yes, yes. Crazy respect. He did so much. He did so much. Huge congrats on the chat book, Genevieve. Yes, well done, Genevieve. The first PoCoChapMo chat book. Hello, Jared. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Congrats, Genevieve. For those of you who did take part in PoCoChapMo, I was going to do a Zoom call yesterday and read some of your poems and kind of just have a final farewell to everything, but I think I think it's come to its natural end and didn't get much of a response. But I did post all the poems that are being published in the official Cove chat book. So if you want to read those, head over to the chat room and check those out. I will also be archiving and turning comments off of the chat room probably tomorrow, if not Tuesday. So now's your last chance just to get those last goodbyes in, I guess. But actually, this is in the title. I was going to do this in part 2, but now we're talking about it. But just because PoCoChapMo is finished, your journey with the Poetry Cove doesn't have to. You've all got access to the poetry discussion threads and the general discussion threads. I know, Genevieve, I'm pretty sure I've seen you in one of those. I think it might be the poetry discussion. But yeah, don't feel like your time with the Cove has to be over just because PoCoChapMo is over. We're still in general and poetry discussion, which you get with a free account. So do feel encouraged to say hello to us over there. Okay, so our first topic for part one, well, the only topic for part one, I guess, our main topic is how much information is too much information. I only get 100 characters in the title of the video, so it says trigger warnings and footnotes. But the actual official section title, if you like, is how much information is too much information. So I Am Girth is helping me on the Surrey Poetry Anthology. Okay, they're helping me edit that. And there are two poems in that that came with footnotes. Now, I wanted to include them just because I felt like if the poet submitted poems with footnotes, then I'll publish the poem with footnotes. But a question was raised between the editors. There are three of us. The question was raised, should there be footnotes in poetry books? And so we're kind of curious. We wanted to throw it to you guys. What do you think about footnotes and also trigger warnings? There's a conversation being had about trigger warnings and whether trigger warnings should be a thing and whether trigger warnings should introduce a poem, because people say that that trigger warning then takes away the power of the poem. And for a while, I was kind of like, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. And then it wasn't until I got triggered myself by something that I understood the discussion and the debate for trigger warnings, because I'd never been triggered before. But then I did get triggered a little bit when Matthew Perry passed, and he talked about like his struggles with drink and stuff, and the way he described it was like, oh yeah, yeah, and it made me want to go to the pub, essentially. And so now I'm like, if a trigger warning saves someone from spiraling, if someone before they start reading their poem says trigger warning, this is about something, 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 which takes all of 2 seconds, if that potentially stops someone from spiraling into a bad place for however long, then I think it's worth giving that trigger warning to help that person over saving the shock factor or saving the power of the poem, if that makes sense. Didn't Neil Gaiman write a poetry collection called Trigger Warnings about that exact topic? Meta. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, actually. I'll have to look that up. That's quite possible. I don't personally like using trigger warnings, but most online places won't publish your work unless you include one. Yes, I don't like trigger warnings. I feel like your response to a poem is your responsibility, not the poet's. Interesting. Interesting. See, I have to disagree um because I ended up getting triggered, and then I was like, for a whole week I just desperately wanted to go to the pub. And yeah, you could say, okay, that's my problem, but oops. Again, if your argument is that the trigger warning takes away from the impact, there's the word. Uh, if your trigger warning takes away from the impact because of uh, uh, element of surprise or whatever, then I don't know. I think the poem should be the poem would be powerful and have that impact whether you have prior knowledge going into it or not. Life is a trigger and it doesn't have any warnings. This is true. This is true. A warning can be beneficial for, e.g., they do it for true crime documentaries. Don't like it when collections have a long list of dozen potential warnings. I don't know if you would have like a I don't know if you'd have like a list of trigger warnings, but just like a small print at the top, trigger warning, bum bum bum. And then it's up to the person whether they go in to that poem or not. I sit on the fence about this often. They do not bother me at all, but I don't mind when they are not there either. Footnotes, I believe, are each to the poet's own. Trigger warnings the same. They've helped me sometimes, but I often find the actual naming of the trauma does the actual damage instead of the warning. There are some collections that I've seen that do have a list like that. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know unless it has a page number next to it. I don't know if that benefits anyone of saying, just listing everything off. I think it just small print at the top, and then it's up to the reader whether they go in or whether they go out. I do think having some context helps. Yeah. I I find I just find the argument that trigger warnings take away the impact. I just find that a weak argument because okay, for example, if you saw a really good film, you know what it's about. But then if it's a really good film, even though you've watched it before and you know the context of that film, it's still just as impactful. So I don't think this is what I mean. If your poem is a good poem and it carries weight to it and it has an impact, I don't think just putting on the top trigger warning addiction. I don't think that's gonna. I don't think that's gonna take away anything from a good poem. A disclosure is one thing, but I'm concerned by the trend of censoring uncomfortable content when ultimately, if something is impacting your life that badly, you need to do the work. Um, a disclosure is one thing, but I'm concerned of the trend of censoring. I don't think trigger warnings censor anything. I think disclosure and censor are different things. A disclosure, yeah, I don't think trigger warnings is a censorship issue. I have severe phobias around medical stuff, but I worked at it so I can consume mainstream media. I wouldn't demand people disclose it. Yeah, but I think I'm coming at it if someone picked up a book, a collection of poems. If the book is called Poems on Addiction, then if you're suffering from addiction, don't pick, not to pick that book up. But I think if it's a case of you're watching an interview, right? Which is what happened to me. And then out of the blue, whoa, okay. Or if you're picking up a book of poems and then all of a sudden, whoa, okay. That's kind of where I think trigger warnings are beneficial. If it saves someone from spiraling, then just that quick little trigger warning, I think, doesn't hurt. Yes, and using an audience as a trauma dumping opportunity. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If you go to an open mic just wanting like a night out with a bit of poetry, and then suddenly someone like hits you with things and you wasn't given a heads up. Um, yes, but this is what I'm saying, Nikki. Like if something is just if there's a book of poems, right? So like for example, Nikki's book of poems, and then there's something in there that might trigger me, but there was no sort of heads up. This is what I'm saying. I don't think trigger warnings are a bad thing for that. If the book is titled a poem, 100 poems on X, Y, and Z sensitive topic, then yeah, I would be like, well, why did you pick that up and read that? Hi, sorry I'm late. What are we talking about? Yes, thank you, Imgurf. I also don't like the shock factor approach of these topics. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. For me, triggers are beautiful, more impactful if they make you cry away that pain. Yeah, again, I don't know if they're beautiful. I guess I'm in the minority on this one. Mm. Footnotes. So yeah, I've never seen footnotes accompany poems ever until this year, and I've come across it twice now. Um, where like you've got the poem and then the footnotes are like a little backstory of the poem. I kind of like it. I kind of like it because They do take up a lot of space on the page, but what do the footnotes serve when accompanying the poem? Well, this is the conversation. Uh, I don't know that they do, but the footnotes that I've kind of read kind of paint a story of the poet uh, and what they were surrounded by whilst writing this poem, and I think it kind of adds a nice little an element to it, some depth to it, I guess. It doesn't add anything to the poem, but it's a cool little story, I guess. And it's nice to visualize like the poet surrounded by what they're writing about and what inspired them, uh, without explaining the poem itself. At least this is the poetry that I've come across recently. Sorry, there's a loud plane going over. Um, but also I've read a poem again earlier this year in the summer. Actually, I read a war poem. It was written by Iron Girth. I don't know. I hope Iron Girth doesn't mind me saying that. And it's a really powerful piece about World War One and when people were suffering from shell shock, and so they kind of went in and was like, what PTSD and what shell shock is, and they thought that was treachery. So they had a firing squad um, execute people who were actually suffering from shell shock and stuff like that, which is really, really sad. And I think it's poems like that, it's really powerful to have a footnote underneath that explaining um, certain lines that are incredibly important and historically important that you might not pick up from just reading the poem. I hope Irongraph doesn't mind me saying this. I do see both points, and I was very much in the camp of not always needing trigger warnings until I had an awful experience at an open mic once, and that was with the trigger warning. Without it, it would have been much worse. There you go. I think it's also one thing if a topic is a bit sad and might make you cry versus something that will cause major mental distress. Thank you, Genevieve. Yes, exactly. There's a difference between uh like serious major distress and something that's uh upsetting and hard to hear. Yeah. Footnotes is a weird thing for poetry. I do see both points, and read that one. I don't think I'm explaining myself well. I just don't think people should have to worry about the consumer when writing the art, often for their own therapy. Oh yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not. I don't think. I mean, that's the way I write. I never write thinking about people reading it. I write for me and what I want to get off my chest, and then it's just an after thing, like just literally tiny header above the title, trigger warning X, Y, and Z. But yeah, I'm not saying like you should worry about the reader. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. And I think seeing my husband go through sobriety the last decade, I've seen him go from triggered by the smallest thing to being totally unfazed because of the work he did on his addictions. With my poem, I made the footnote a massive part of the poem. They work together without over explaining anything. Yes, also, I don't mind. Okay, cool. Uh, I think when sharing is where you might consider it. I think when sharing is where you might consider it. Yes, yes, and yes, the world cannot be trigger proof, and never being exposed to things isn't actually helpful in the long term. No. But you also got to remember everyone's on their different journeys to healing and stuff. That's what I mean. Just a small little inkling, heads up. This is what's coming. Move on if you don't want to deal with it, or read it. Footnotes could be interesting. My problem with most poetry is simply I can't understand what they're saying in what I consider heavy word salad / confusion. Footnotes could be interesting. My problem with most poetry is simply I can't understand what they're saying in what I consider heavy word salad confusion. I guess I've never been triggered. I like to learn from my heavy issues. This is it. Yes, Genevieve. Okay, me and Genevieve are definitely on the same page. But also, you don't know what people's experiences in life are, and you don't want to be pushing someone into their trauma and leaving them without a potential support system. Yes. Hence why, just a quick heads up so they can step out the room or move on to the next poem. When writing poetry, ideally, you should be focused on the reader and making sure. When writing poetry, ideally, you should be focused on the reader and making sure they can understand the poem and get out of it what you want them to get out of it. I don't think it's hard to be careful. Yeah, when I write, admittedly, when I write, I never write and go, okay, um, what do I have to write for the reader? In the editing, I do, but in the actual writing of it, it's just about me putting what I need to get from here onto the page, and then the editing takes part, and you start looking at the meter and word choice and whether your metaphors are clear, blah 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 blah. I think footnotes could be useful if there's detail that might be lost. For example, a poet writing about a particular battle or situation. Yeah, hello, Adam. Hello, Daniel Mitch and Gary Giles. What are we chatting about? We're talking about trigger warnings and footnotes and how much information is too much information. Also, did you know that Jupiter is next to the moon tonight? Apparently, that's what my Stargazer app is saying. I do agree that people doing their own work is also super important, if for no other reason than to make their life better, to live. It's amazing when someone has been able to do that work. Yeah. I have a candle burning right next to me and I can feel it in my windows. Feel it in my bones. I can feel it in my windows, guys. Just in case you missed it. So if you missed me posting about it, when I first got my flu that I've had that made me cancel a couple weeks ago the stream. I went to go and get some honey for my cough and sore throat and ended up spending money on lots of Halloween decorations, and Boo was one of them. I'm mostly a confessional poet, so I rarely concern myself with the reader when writing poetry. Some would say that is selfish of me. No, I get that. I get that. If you're writing for yourself, it could get in the way of the quality of your writing. If you're writing that way, it would be hard to think about what could trigger a reader. And I always say at my open mics, if you're going, does my poem need a trigger warning? I'd just be like, just mention it, just in case. Because if you're questioning it, that usually means that there's something in there that's a little bit questionable. So just again, I don't see the harm in it, but that's just me. Raven, but what if I was reading your poem? I don't know you, so how would I understand it? You have to keep that kind of thing in mind. But again, some people don't. Some people write poetry for different reasons. So, um, as Raven says, as a confessional poet, it's just like, here's my stuff. Um, but I can confirm that Raven's actually a really amazing poet. Raven is on the Poetry Cove, and I love reading Raven's poems whenever whenever they're posted. I've read poems with footnotes that have just reeled off the entire poem in a paragraph. They are sorely misused. If you read my poems, you will definitely understand it. I don't write cryptic poetry. Yeah, definitely check out Raven's poems on the Cove. Yeah, you don't see them very often, class, in poetry. I've literally never come across it before, and then suddenly I've come across it twice this year. See, if that's your style, then I think it's perfectly okay, as you are properly sculpting out your audience who know what to expect. Yeah, Raven. See, if that's your style, then I think it's perfectly okay, as you are properly sculpting out your audience who know what to expect. Exactly. I've gotten to know some covers now on the Poetry Cove where I can read a poem and know exactly who's written it. And Raven is one of them. I know when I'm reading a Raven poem. I know when I'm reading a Herb poem. I think if your audience is also used to your subject matter, then it may also become less necessary. I do warn people that I mostly write dark poetry. Yes, yeah. By the way, there are 12 people watching and only 7 likes. Guys, if you haven't hit that like button, please hit that like button. It really does help the channel. Share it with your poetry friends. Get them to subscribe. If we get to 7,000 subscribers before Christmas, which is looking likely, then I'm going to dance to Barbie. I actually need to find that song again. Whoever suggests... Oh, wait, Danny, wasn't it you? Uh, can you make sure I don't lose that poetry song that's in Barbie? Uh, if we hit 7,000 subs before Christmas, I'm gonna go live dancing to Barbie and do a rubber duck calendar. Apparently, I don't know what that looks like, but we'll figure it out. Oh, 100%. Thank you, thank you. I remember it wasn't Barbie. It was Barbie's friend singing about poetry or something like that. This is true. Going through Cove poems, I'm also recognizing each poet's voice, and it's so great. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. I know when I'm reading a Herb poem, I know when I'm reading a Raven poem. I pretty much know when I'm reading a Mark poem as well. Now, I'm learning your voices and I'm learning your styles. Well, that's going to happen before end of November. It does seem like that. It could very well happen way before Christmas. So we'll see. Maybe that's my Christmas present to all of you is me dancing to Barbie. Can't wait. Oh, that's another thing. So I tried doing this before. I've tried doing this before the stream, but it messed up the chat box that I'm streaming into the video. 7K for Christmas instead. Oh, 7.1K for Christmas instead. No, I'm a man of my word. I'll stick to the 7K. If you dance to Barbie, surprise us with a fashionable outfit. Okay. Okay. I'll try. I'll try. Goodness. Um, yeah, we next week is our Halloween special. Next week is going to be interesting because I'm going to be racing back from Scotland on Sunday. So it's going to be our Halloween special as well. So I need to know what you guys want to do to make it a Halloween special. I tried throwing up a Q&A, but it messed up the chat box. So let me know in the chat or in a comment or in a DM on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, Adam Gary Poetry. Do you actually know how Barbie dances, Adam? I have no idea. But you're going to get Adam Gary dancing to Barbie. You're not going to get Adam Gary as Barbie dancing to Barbie. But yeah, if you have any ideas what you want to do for a Halloween special, let me know in the chat now or send me a message on the Cove, send me a message on Instagram. I'm gonna I hope I make it back. So long as my train isn't cancelled or delayed from Scotland, I'd love for you to read some Poe for Halloween. Ah, yes. Quoth the raven evermore. Yes. Okay, I can do that. Annabelle Lee. Yeah, I can do some Poe. I can do some Poe. Sure, we'll do that. Okay, Poe. Mm, 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 mm. What did we do for last year's Christmas special? I remember last year's Christmas special being really fun. I think we tracked Santa. We tracked Santa. Did we do anything else other than just talk and track Santa? I can't remember. Just listen to the song and you may struggle coming up with the moves. It's a little slow. Oh no. So if anyone has any ideas in mind, here's the link. Oh no. You should do an ASMR Poe video too. Oh, I did promise that. Okay. Okay, I can do that. I can do that. I don't know if you can see, but I did actually, before I got really busy with the laureateship and stuff, I did actually set up a green screen to really go to town with the ASMR videos. Um, but it never happened. I ran out of time. I'm so busy. But I did promise that, so I'll do an ASMR Poe video before Halloween. I'm in Scotland next week. I may even try and do a no promises, but I may even try and do an on the hunt video while I'm in Scotland. You can probably imagine which poet I'm thinking of specifically, but it's difficult because he didn't live in Edinburgh. He didn't live in Edinburgh. There is a tavern in Edinburgh that he visited. He spent I think it was the last time he was in Scotland actually, was in this pub. That doesn't sound right at all. Burns, obviously, we're talking about Burns. So if I can, I'll try and do that. Can I just put it out there that Raven isn't supposed to be creepy? It's about sorrow, heartbreak, and despair. It is indeed, but he was a very gothic poet, and he had a very horrific tone. Quoth the Raven nevermore. But yeah, you're right. It's about heartbreak and loss and sorrow. Halloween isn't always about creepy. Actually, no, it's not. Is it? I could be completely wrong, so please don't quote me. But isn't it an actual celebration? I know it's called. I'm talking Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead isn't like a somber thing, is it? It's uh, like a celebration of family. I think one member equals one personal Barbie dance. Thank you so much. I am Gav. Uh, mm, maybe I don't know about that one. But I suppose if it gets more members, I will send you each a personal Barbie dance. Um, thanks, I'm Girl. I find a lot of comfort and warmth in darkness. Halloween isn't always creepy. Also, by the way, I have the Raven memorized. Nice. My friend thinks I'm weird for it. No, nice. I mean, that must have taken some work. That's a pretty lengthy poem, but good job. It is very cool to have a poem memorized. It's something I need to get better at. It's something I actually need to consciously do. Sit down and actually start memorizing my poems because that way I can perform them so much better. But there are only so many balls I can juggle and so many hours in the day. Got to get your leg warmers on, Adam. Huh? Got to get my leg warmers on? Okay, I don't know what you mean by that. I am Gav. I got to get my leg warmers on. Oh, for the dances. I want to listen to that. I want to listen to that song now. For all your new members, wink. Thank you, I am Gav. I hope I appreciate it. 80s workout reference, leg warmers, yeah. And his library leggings. I really want to listen to this Barbie song. But it might be copyrighted, so I might be able to get away with this. I will do it. And then if the audio gets removed, if it gets a copyright strike, oh, I don't know, actually. You know, the music industry, guys, is so hot on like copyright stuff being used in YouTube music. Yeah, YouTube videos. Um, so that might be my out. I don't want to get a copyright strike. Maybe I'll post it to Instagram. I know that's half of a cop out. I'm still doing it, but I don't want to get copyright striked. Unless, hold on. I'm doing this live on stream for you guys. Let's make a quick short. Hello. And I'm gonna, how do I flip the camera so you guys can, hello. Hello. Right, okay. Oh, how do I mute this? Oh, it's just gonna be hello. Add sound. Right, can someone put the name of the song, of this Barbie song, in the chat real quick, please? And I'll see if it's available to make it as a sound. And then I can dance to it. To a YouTube, like, make a YouTube short with this Barbie song as the sound. Otherwise, I'm gonna get a copyright strike. So I'll have to post it to Instagram. And my Instagram is Adam Gary Poetry if you're not. Barbie Generation Girl Got a Groove Poetry. That's one long band name. Barbie Generation Girl Got a Groove. Okay, poetry. Barbie. Is it really obscure that it's not going to be on here? Barbie Girl Generation. It's not coming up. Oh, hang on. Barbie Girl Groove. It's on here, so problem solved. It's on here as a sound, so I can just do that. If you sing the song and dance as well, we will get in trouble. Will you still get in trouble? No, I probably won't, but I'm not going to embarrass myself that much. Jeez, you guys are already getting me dancing in a questionable outfit to Barbie Girl. I'm not going to sing it as well. No, it's on YouTube as a sound, so I can just use it as a sound and dance to that. See, I'm good to you guys. I could have accepted my fate and said, "Oh, I won't be able to do it, guys, because of copyright and stuff." I've made a promise to you guys. If you get us to 7,000 before Christmas, you're gonna get me dancing to a Barbie Girl Generation Girl Got a Groove poetry. And on that note, there are 14 people watching and only 9 likes. Please hit that like button. It's completely free, really helps out the channel, pushes the content out. And it might even get us to 7,000 quicker. And all you have to do is hit that like button. So there you go. Or if you want to have a personal Barbie dance sent to you, become a channel member, become a Gary Girl or a loyal supporter. You get exclusive content and a personal Barbie dance and a cool little Gary Girl emoji like Dazzle in the Dark, Raven, I Am Girth, Del Girl. Del Girl's got an Elton John one, and Danny and Mitch. I think that's all the channel members. That's all the Gary Girls we got with us tonight, I think. 12 likes. Nice one, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, let's take a 5-minute break. Let's take a 5-minute break. We're 15 minutes early. Don't worry. We'll still do the full 2 hours. But let's take a 5-minute break. I'm going to blow this candle out behind me because I'm getting a really sore throat from it. And when we come back, we have... What do we have? Let me look at my whiteboard. We go from part 1 to part 2, and part 2 is competitions. We're going to talk about poetry competitions. We're going to talk about writing for competitions, submitting different types of competitions, and the pros and cons of competitions and stuff like that. So we'll do that after a quick 5-minute break, starting from now. Wait, starting from now. Okay, we're back. That song always catches me off guard because it's slightly shorter than 5 minutes, which is what we normally have. Uh, excuse me. I just noticed we're on 922 subs. We gained 2 subs whilst going live tonight. So thank you so much for subscribing. And yeah, that song always catches me out. So I'm a little bit late getting back. So I apologize. I was last week as well. Imagine you listening to the Barbie song through headphones. We can't hear it, but we can see you dancing. Nowadays, there's legit parties where everyone wears headphones. Yeah, silent discos, dancing together. Silent discos are so fun. I wanted to ask if there are any YouTubers, poetry sites that people here like. I really like writing with Andrew. Oh yeah, the silent discos. Yes, I really like the roughest draft. Loving that sub count. Oh yes, getting closer and closer. No, we won't have to do that class because in the YouTube app, in the YouTube Shorts app, they actually have this song available as a um as a sound. So that's how we'll get around copyright. Yes, that's what they're called, silent discos. Yeah, I love button poetry. Haven't checked out button poetry in so long, years even. This blanket always slides down. There we go. Okay, let me catch my breath a little bit. Let me just take a second to get back into uh, the frame of mind of hosting. So we're going to talk about competitions in all their forms. It's something I think we might have touched upon before, but I don't think we've gone really in depth with it. So we're going to talk about writing for competitions. We're going to talk about submitting. We're going to talk about different types of competitions, and we're going to talk about the pros and cons. But before we get into everything, um, let's just kind of get an idea of who has actually taken part in competitions, who submitted to competitions here in the chat. So if you have any experiences with competitions, let us know in the chat box right now. Um, I have very small, very little experience with competitions, which I think I have spoken about on the channel. I have submitted a few times to poetry competitions. Nice class. Does anyone have like any advice they would give in terms of writing for competitions? So most competitions they give you a theme to write on. Um, they give you a theme to write on. Not always, not always, but most of the time. And so it's a case of do you write as you the poet? And this is kind of what we were talking about a little bit. It's interesting actually how the two parts have kind of collided all of a sudden. When you're writing for competitions, you can either A, write as you the poet, or B, you can write as a poet writing a poem for a competition. And by that I mean there are certain things that you can do and boxes to tick that will probably kind of get you further along in the competition. It's kind of sucky, but it's just how it works. It's just how it works. Has anyone ever won a competition here? Actually, has any? Oh, there you go, Raven. I submitted and won a local competition back in the early 2000s. It was for a theatre that had been renovated, nice, and was about to reopen. Won $50. It was my first time competing. That's awesome, Raven. Congratulations for winning that. I have a bit of experience with submitting poems for competition. What I've done, which is maybe silly, is research the judges and what they do and write something based on that for brownie points. Yeah, that's what I mean, ticking boxes. That's what I mean. And you have to, that's a good thing to do, unfortunately. Unfortunately, competitions are, poetry in general is so subjective, right? It's so subjective. What one person might love, and we've seen that tonight. Life is full of different opinions. We've seen that tonight, and that's what makes the world interesting anyway. But art, but all art is subjective. Poetry comes under that banner. So you could write a poem. You could write the best poem that Bob loves. Bob thinks this poem is the best thing Bob has ever read. And then Tina hates this poem. Tina has never read anything so shit in all their life. If your poem that you're submitting lands in front of Bob, you're winning that competition. However, if Tina's the judge of that competition, you probably won't even make the shortlist. So that's the problem with competitions. You have to be incredibly lucky. Oh, and before it even reaches the judges, it has to make the long list. It has to go through some random editor or whatever, some random organizer who is uh 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 filtering poems. So your poem is submitted, it goes to Tracy. You got Bob, Tina, and Tracy, okay? It goes to Tracy, it's in front of Tracy. Tracy may kind of see something in your poem. It's kind of Tracy's taste. So she'll go easy on you, and then it has to land in front of Bob, but it might land in front of Tina. What, I don't know what the hell I'm saying. What I'm saying is, it's such a like lucky straw kind of thing. Competitions. Did I make any sense in what I just said? Let me catch up in the chat because I'm just talking nonsense. But what I'm saying is that's a good, yeah. So I am Girth. That's a good strategy. Look up all the judges, read their work, read how they've addressed certain things. If they've written poetry on, it's a lot of work, guys. It's not easy. Read their poems and figure out if they've wrote any verse to do with the theme that has been set, or just try and figure out what their tastes are. That will put you. That will at least kind of put you ahead uh, before a few hundred people, but there will also be people doing the exact same thing. I'm still trying to figure this out. I usually write very personal, but yet I think I need to be more vague, universal, trying to figure out how to merge the two. I've read poets that have won these competitions and they must be friends with the judges because I don't find them to be that intriguing. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's all subjective. So what you don't like, class, maybe I love. What I love, maybe you hate. Uh, and then sometimes you have like 3 or 4 judges that you have to contend with, and you've got all these different depending on the size of the competition, you've got all these filtering uh levels before you even get to the judges. Like it's insane. It's insane. And that's what I mean by writing poems that tick boxes. Ultimately, it's the biggest effort in appealing to a large scale audience. You have to have a real sense of self to know how much of yourself to put forward. Yeah. I will say, don't be fooled by so called competitions attached to an anthology. You see these a lot in Writer's Digest. They actually take all poems and want you to purchase the anthology. That happens so often and it genuinely baffles me. Yeah, in the photography world, that is a huge, huge issue too. Oh, that's to Ravens. Oh, that's interesting. I suppose it's important to remember it's still a business. I believe it. Yes, true. I think if you do lots of competitions and don't get anything, it can perhaps do more harm than good to your self-esteem. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a second as well. I'm a teacher's pet though, so that's something I always do. Well, uh, I agree, Delgal. Every competition I've entered, I've never won it. Does a number on you after a while. Yeah, it sure does. Okay, so that's a natural segue into why I don't personally submit to competitions. So I come from an acting background. I've said this story a few times, but if you're new to the channel, I come from an acting background, and there is like in all art realms, there's so much rejection involved, and there can be so much rejection involved in poetry as well. But there's so much rejection involved in acting that it kind of just it did a number on me, as Iron Girth said, and it ruined it for me, and I no longer had any joy from it, and it extinguished the fire. There's more rejection than there is acceptance, and publishing is the same. So I do not, as a rule, submit to competitions because I am too scared that the rejection will take its toll on me, and it will scare me off of writing poetry, and it will take the fun out of writing poetry for me. And if that happens, then I have no idea who I am. I don't know what my sense of identity is. So yeah, the amount of rejection can really take its toll on you, and that's why I personally don't do it. But I have huge amounts of respect for those that do. I know people I know people who are winning competitions left, right, and center, and that's amazing. Um, and it can happen. But I also know people that haven't won any competitions. So just again, I guess just be careful. If you're submitting to every single competition and you're not keeping in mind what I've just spoken about in terms of all the filtering that you need to get through just to wind up in front of the judges half of the time, it can take its toll. And so when we talk about pros and cons, that would be a huge con for me. Is that it can really all the rejection involved can really take it out on you, take its toll on you. So just be careful. Another con is it can be expensive. As someone who runs a magazine, and our magazine charges $3 per submission to a do a bit of the filtering work that I've just spoken about. If there was no charge, people would just be submitting a poem every single day. People would be submitting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of poems that I would have to sit through and not get paid for it, by the way. I don't earn any money from the Cove. The Cove is now supporting itself, which is nice. Finally, it's been 3 years. It's now supporting itself, but I don't get any money from the Cove, and I'm already having to read through all the submissions and find the ones I like. If we didn't charge for that, then everyone and anyone would just be hundreds and hundreds of poems just coming in willy-nilly. So by charging, you already filter out a lot of people who don't actually take it seriously. The only people that will pay $3 to submit are the ones who are really looking for publication, really looking to start building up a portfolio. So that's one of the reasons we do it. And also again, because it is a business, as I am Girth suggested. At the end of the day, it is a business. So I don't hate on competitions for charging to enter. It is what it is. It's just business. And I think sometimes we got to remind ourselves that, it is business. Also, half of the time, competitions that charge to enter, that ends up being prize money. That goes into a pot, and then that ends up being prize money as well. So there's also that factor. So cons are the strain on mental health that it can take if you're getting lots and lots of rejection, and it doesn't mean that you're not a good poet. And also, it can be expensive if you're paying some competition. I've paid £12 to enter a competition before. Uh, didn't get it. I think I spoke about it at the time on the channel. I was like, "Oh, guys, I've broken my one rule." I don't know if anyone here, actually remembers that. Um, I went live. I was like, "I've broken my one rule. I've submitted to a competition and I didn't get it, and it made me feel crappy." So those are the two cons. Can anyone else think of any cons before we talk about the pros? Can anyone else think of a few cons while I dive back into the chat? Uh, Here's my question: is writing for competitions worth it? If you can't write the way you fully want to, is it worth it? Well, we'll discuss the pros, and I guess a poet, that's for you to decide. We'll come on to the pros in a second. I agree, Delgal. We read that. Um, every time I get denied, it gives me more strength to do even better, at least for myself, writing poetry. All the greatest writers' poets usually got denied until they became realized. Yeah, and that's all valid. That's all valid. Uh, and that was the case for me for a long time with acting, but after a while, it does eventually take its toll. And if it doesn't, then like that's so awesome for you, and I'm jealous, and I wish I could be like that. One thing for me with competitions too is what's the goal of submitting and what even would be the result of winning. Some may be more valuable than others, and yes, rejection. Yeah. So again, we'll come on to pros. I mean, I'm going to talk about different types of competition, and I kind of know what I mean by that, but I also don't know what I mean by that. I'm talking about like scale, different scales of competition. So if you're winning, I think it's the T.S. Eliot Prize, you're winning 27 grand. I mean, that's a pretty nice payout. I'm not gonna lie, but I wouldn't suggest. Well, I think the T.S. Eliot is a collection prize anyway, so it's like you can't just enter to win. You get selected. So that might have been a bad example. True, it can be expensive. I like the ones that are free. Ultimately, I write for myself. Yeah, 100%. I think that's the best way to be. I like to think there's a platform for everybody's poetry, just not any of the mainstream comps, as, like a poet said, you aren't able to showcase your uniqueness as you have to fit into a certain box. Yeah. I remember that. Oh, you remember that stream? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hang on, I've just jumped in the chat. I just jumped in the chat. Certain box. Small fees to submit make sense, but the exorbitant fees some places charge are usually the giveaway that the goal is to make money from submissions. Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of it must be ego, which isn't always a bad thing, but you're always putting more into submitting than you're getting out of winning. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Also, all of my expectations here comes from the photo world. Yeah, I think, to be honest, it's the art world. I don't think there's too many dissim dissimilarities uh, between, like, let's say, the painting world and the photography world, the poetry world, the acting world. It's all the same with just wearing a different jacket, just wearing a different coat. I paid upwards of £20 once. What? I mean, I'm pretty sure I paid £12. So yeah, not a bad amount of pennies there. Yes, there are some legit competitions with actual value in winning, either by who you reach, financial gain, or just a feather in your cap. Yeah, I think they all operate mostly the same way. By the way, I've got a hot chocolate. If you're wondering what I'm drinking now, I've got a hot chocolate. And also, I didn't blow out that candle. I got distracted during the break. And then I got distracted during the break. And then, yeah, that's probably just made it worse because now I've got I'm a bit of a mess tonight, guys. Sorry, I'm a bit all over the place. I'm not that competitive. So it is a waste for me to submit to too many competitions or even to submit to magazine journals. I just want to write poetry. I love that, Raven. I just want to write poetry. I love that. Yeah, I'm not paying that again. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. 20 upwards of £20. Fuck that. Okay, so what are the pros then? We've all kind of we've all mentioned the cons and stuff, but what are the pros? Let's talk about the pros. I love that. The culture of competitive poetry is far too much sometimes. Yeah, do you know what's funny? This is why I just can't personally, I can't get on board with slam. I can't get on board with that. I don't Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. I just don't get how you can have a winning poem. But that might just be because I haven't tried to understand slams. I haven't tried to understand it. I don't know if, like, for each dig you make at something, you get a point. I don't know. I don't know if it's on a point system. I'm ignorant to it, and I acknowledge that, and you know, I say that willingly. But yeah, I don't know how you can judge whether a poem is better than the other. I don't understand it. Not all slams are competitive. Oh, they're not. Oh, I just figured that's what slams are. I just figured that's what that is. I think I paid $35, but I will be receiving a hardback of their bi-yearly printed poetry book of submissions. It is more about performance. Okay, okay. I thought it was based on the poem, like the quality of the poem, which again is all subjective, as I've just said. But let's talk about pros of competitions. So obviously there are big ones where you've got a nice hefty payout. You get a nice hefty payout, right? Um, T.S. Eliot is a bad example because it's a collection prize, and you get I think your publisher submits the collection on your behalf. So if you're a self-published poet, you couldn't just be like, "Yo, I'm submitting myself for the T.S. Eliot Prize." It won't happen. That's like a prestigious award, more than a competition. It's an award, right? If that even made sense, I guess it is a competition, really. But there are some decent there are some decent competitions that pay a nice payday. So there's that. That's a pro. Winning a bit of change. Hello, bit of coinage. Off on holiday. Uh, that's a pro. And winning is fun. Winning is fun. Winning is nice. Winning feels good. That's a pro, right? Yeah, you're right, I am Gav. That's a pro. Winning is nice. It looks good on the portfolio. If you can, if you're like trying to make something, and I love what you said, Raven, about I just want to write poetry. I just love poetry. Like I relate to that. But if you also want to make something, having awards next to your name is always good, like a CV, right? Um, if you if you're applying for a job and at the top of your CVs are all like different qualifications, I'm not saying winning a competition is a qualification, obviously, but it's just something that looks good next to your name, and it's a vanity thing, right? That's a con. That's a pro. Yeah, the payout top prize was $25,000. Wow. But that's what okay, so that is kind of what I mean as well. Some competitions with big payouts goes into a pot that usually makes up a nice payout, $25,000. That would be nice. So that's definitely a pro. I might have to get that competition from you. I ran competitions on Medium for a couple of years, got grants to run them so I could give monetary prizes. Nice. But what really is the likelihood of winning? It's tough. That's what I mean. That's a con. It's tough. Like, not only do you have to write a good poem, which is subjective, but um, it has to it has to have some merit to it. You can't just write "Itsy bitsy spider went up the water fountain" because it's a bad poem, right? Went up the water fountain and drank some sewage and submit that. You know what I mean. You can't just submit anything. It has to be a poem. Um, so I don't know where I was going with that. I don't know where I was going with that at all. Oh, what is the likelihood of winning? Yeah, so you not only do you have to put a decent poem together, even if it's just decent in I don't know what the fuck I'm trying to say. because I'm getting all tongue-tied and knotted. You have to write a relatively good poem, um, in general, for the general audience. The people have to say, like, that's a crafted poem, right? But then it has to be for the people that are judging it as well. It has to be to their tastes, which is, it's a 50-50 game. So thanks for asking that really difficult question, a poet that I clearly have no idea how to answer. I know how to answer it in my head, but I can't put it into words clearly. Hello, India. Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for dropping in. Welcome to the live stream. I don't think I've seen you here before. Your poetries are amazing. Thank you so much. What is your definition for a good poem? See, I get this asked this so many times. And what I think is a good poem, other people aren't going to think is a good poem. My personal preference, I love a poem that has great meter, has a rhyme scheme, and obviously touches on uh is has a lot of depth to it. But some people don't. I feel like I'm one of the very few of my generation who who likes a rhyme scheme. A lot of people don't like rhyme schemes and don't consider meters, and they prefer free verse. So it's very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult. But it has to say something. A poem has to say something. Oh, that's amazing, Raven. What's it like to run them compared to your experience in entering them? That's a good question, I am Girth. It was a lot of fun. Had 3 judges, including myself, and we'd get about 15 to 20 submissions per competition. Excuse me, sorry. Choosing a winner was often quite difficult, though. Some amazing poets on Medium. So this is another. Okay, so this is another thing, and I experience it as the magazine editor and as editor of the anthologies that I'm doing. For those of you who don't know, I'm working on an anthology with the laureateship. I've just put together the chapbook for PoCoChapMo. So I have experience with this as well. When you have a limited amount of space, okay, when there's only a limited amount of space to go for poems to go into a magazine or into a book, you have to, at some point, you have to be super selective, okay? You have to be super selective because the space is only limited. So there are things that oftentimes it comes down to I have more poems that I like than I have space for. I have to go through every poem with a fine comb. And at that point, any little reason not to select a poem is like magnified. You have to find reasons not to select a poem than reasons to select a poem if you've got more poems than you have for space. So that just goes that goes towards how difficult it is to be accepted into big journals or be accepted or to get through to the judging rounds of competitions, especially the really, really popular ones. It doesn't mean that your poem isn't good all the time, most of the time. It depends what poem you're submitting. If you're submitting, no, I'm not even going to go there again because I just spent about 10 minutes trying to get my thoughts out into a coherent sentence. But yeah, it sucks to hear, but it's just how it is. It's just how it is. If you've got so many poems and not enough space, you end up looking for small things, reasons not to accept a poem because that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Subjectivity aside, the tiniest technical issue can be the make or break. That's what I'm saying, Genevieve. Me and Genevieve are on the same page tonight. I'm enjoying this. Thank you, Genevieve. I'm the one sitting in the chair live, just fumbling through sentences, and then Genevieve just comes along and like, this is what Adam's trying to say. Yeah, the tiniest technical issue can be the make or break just because there's just too many poems and not enough space. That is the unfortunate reality of things. Now, I missed a lot in the chat, so let me catch up. It was a lot of fun. Yep, read that one. Well, it's subjective, really. It depends on whether you prefer simple expression or poetic techniques are more your thing. Exactly, exactly. It depends what people's tastes are. I might have to charge my laptop soon. I love how positive that is. It's hard to choose from great submissions, but it's a good problem to have. Yeah. In my opinion, a good poem has a purpose and says something unique as well as flowing well and having good mechanics. I write poems what I feel, and sometimes it's just like I find them unrelatable to the audience. I write poems about what I feel, and sometimes it's just like I find them unrelatable to the audience. Do you mean you write poems and you don't think people will understand? I think if that's what you mean, I think uh uh give give the reader some credit and trust that that people will understand what you're saying. And sometimes I've had it, and I've spoken about this on the channel a few times, but the best feeling is when someone messages me and says, I really love this poem. It spoke to me. I can, it's just like my experience, which was blah, 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 blah. And their experience, what they related to the poem, was so far, like it had nothing to do with the experience, my experience that inspired the poem. And obviously, I don't tell people that. I just say thank you. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it, etc., etc. But it's always so interesting to me when I read that and I'm like, wow. So again, it's just, everyone's different. Everyone brings something different to the table. And it's like, wow, that's not what that poem is about to me, but I'm so glad that it's about that to you, if that makes sense. I want to write great poetry. You and me both, class. Wouldn't that be nice? I wish I could just like so I have this ritual when I come to writing. I always stroke Shakespeare's head. I have a nice, it's quite a chunky thing actually. It's quite a good quality. I got it off of Amazon, but it's a Shakespeare statue. And I don't know if he's in shot, but essentially I stroke his head, if he's in shot right now. I stroke his head like this and hope for just just a smidge of his poetic genius to come through while I'm writing. I'm weird. It's a thing. If you can try to step outside of your work and look at it objectively so the audience can meet you halfway with your work while still remaining true to yourself. Very good. Subjectivity aside, the tiny step. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's good I'm not the one speaking. I'd make even less sense. Well, I guess we'll just have to. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to figure this out. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm really like, I don't know what's going on tonight. I'm really out of sorts, out of sync with myself. Write the poetry you'd want to read and understand yourself, if that helps. Yeah, write poetry you'd want to read and trust that your audience will find you. He's going to get a bald spot or a shiny spot like the public statues of dogs and such that people are always petting. Yeah, he's gonna be all like shiny and coated in whatever they've coated him in, and then just on the top of his head, it's just gonna be like raw, raw whatever it's made out of. It's a good quality statue actually. I was pleasantly surprised when it arrived because I swear I only paid like 20 quid for it on Amazon. I have a ritual too. I light a purple candle, recite a call the muse spell, and put on my writing playlist. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I love that. Music plays a big part of my writing. I like to put soundtracks in my ears or ambience when I'm writing. It really helps sort of immerse me into the world of the poem that I'm writing. Excuse me. We're all weird here and probably do things like that. Good. I'm glad I'm not alone. I'm glad I'm not alone. I love as poets, artists, we all have our little rituals for writing. Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Jeff. Jeff's in the house. Jeff's in the house. Music gives the flow of rhyme scheme. Yeah, music is just like, I think music is like one of the most powerful things humans can experience. Yeah. I'm just trying to think. Music just has so much power for us as humans. It can transport us to so many different places in our memories. It helps us imagine things. It's really powerful. Yeah. We're talking about our little rituals. Yeah, we've kind of spoken about competitions, and now we're in the phase of the live stream where we're just riffing and talking about everything and anything. And at the moment, we're talking about ritual. So I've said it before on the stream. Like when I sit down to write, I always sort of rub Shakespeare's head and hope that he will bring me inspiration. I listen to Linkin Park, Disturbed, Type O Negative, Hymn, etc. when writing poetry. I don't really have a ritual as the majority of my poems are born out of sketches of poems. Oh, I see. That I scrawl in my poetry notebook that I keep with me. Then I make it into a poem and edit it in stages. The whole poetry community is either ultra saddened or just very positive and is romanticizing the world. Poets do tend to be somber and melancholic. It's definitely something I've noticed for sure, myself included in that. Although I'm trying to move away from that as much as I can. But yeah, yeah, I have noticed that at open mics. That's a ritual. Yeah, that's so true, Raven. That's actually so true. That is a ritual. You sketch your poem out, and then make it into a poem at a later date. That's so true. I love that the poem is its own skeleton. Yeah, I like how you. Yeah, I like the idea of sketching a poem out. That's actually a really. I really like that idea. Just sketching a poem out, just getting it down, and then building the flesh on top of that. That's another thing we did in like acting and stuff. When building a character, you'd build the skeleton, right? Then you'd put the muscle on, and then you'd wrap it with the skin. Nice, I know. Yeah, so tonight we've obviously discussed Zephaniah getting his blue plaque at the Birmingham Music and Art Gallery. We've discussed footnotes and trigger warnings, and if how much information is too much information. Did we discuss something else at the tail end of part one? I feel like we segued into something else at the end of part one. And then part two, we've talked about competitions, uh, kind of, I guess. Did we finish talking about the pros of it? I don't know. We kind of, it just kind of tailed off, and that's okay. That's how conversations work. And listen to music or YouTube videos while I write. I write until the poem is done, then go back to make it clear and have a good flow. My ritual is to go to a nearby and watch the sunset and then write what my heart says after seeing the sun going down the horizon. That's nice. That's nice. I wish I had somewhere I could go and do that round here, but And when I am happy and write one for my lover, I just play Coldplay and it brings me in a long, deep thought. Nice. Yeah, I'd love to go and have somewhere where I can just go and watch the sunset and just be inspired and write poetry off of that. That is a poet's dream. I think that's any artist's dream. I After I think I like what I have, I read it to an audience to see if it feels how I intended and get initial feedback, then edit it more. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, open mics are good for that as well. You also kind of have to be careful. I think open mics, if you're going to make use of open mics like that, and many poets do, like it's a very known thing to do, I think it is important to mention that you're kind of still figuring this poem out. You want to see the reaction, because otherwise you end up, if you bring a lot of half, and I'm not saying you do, Jeff, but if you end up getting into the habit of bringing half finished poems to open mics, then that's going to be your reputation. Unless you say, I'm still developing this poem. Sometimes that's the worst bit for me, as the creation of it was the most enjoyable part. The hill nearby my home gives a great view of the city and the sunset. It hits really hard. Nice, nice. I'm jealous. I should probably edit my poetry more. I usually kind of edit as I go along. That's fair enough. Hey, listen, we all have different, as we're learning tonight, we all have different ways of working and different ways of thinking. And so that's fine. Like, you do what works best for you, Raven. And then you accidentally try to share the joy of creating it rather than the creation itself. Oh, I also do that too sometimes. Uh, Edit as you go along. C.A. Conrad says he watches the sunset for inspiration, then he watches live streams of sunsets in other parts of the world later in the day for more inspiration. Nice. Apparently, my phone heard me say "Hey Siri" because it's gone on to "Hey Siri." Don't know why it did that. Hmm. I changed the light to green for Halloween. It's really dim. It's really dim, the light back there, but for some reason it's still like giving off a big flare on screen. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Let's see what happens if I do this. I got my backlight on. Let's connect it to a different switch, but should we do the stream? Should we do the rest of the stream like this? Hmm. My advice for editing is to wait a while and then write it over or record yourself reciting it. I find it helpful. I find it helpful for seeing new things and smoothing it over. For the most part, I don't have anyone to share my poetry with, get critical, honest critics from. I joined your live for the first time and I am so happy here, sir. I am enjoying this so much. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. That warms my heart. I'm glad that you're getting something from this stream. I'm lucky enough to have some really awesome people in the live chat. We don't always agree, but we are always respectful of each other. That's really, really important. We don't talk about religion or politics, just poetry, and we're really respectful. So it's nice to have you here. And I'm really glad that you're taking part and you're getting something from this live stream. Save that for Halloween with a few candles in the background. Yeah. Oh, no, no. Go back to warm. Yes. I don't know if I'm gonna get a copyright strike just for that. That's what I mean. They're so hot on stuff like this. The music industry is so hot on stuff like this. Hopefully they I don't know. I don't know. It's 3 a.m. here in India, and my grandfather is knocking my door and saying me to sleep because I am having school tomorrow at 8 a.m. But I just love this stream. I love that. I love that. But if it's time to go to sleep because you've got school in the morning, um, I understand why your grandfather might want you to go to sleep. So, maybe go to sleep so that you're not too tired for school tomorrow. I don't want to be a bad influence on you. We're probably gonna go. You can't hear the music? Oh, that's okay then. Oh, that's good. You can't hear the music? Oh, that's good. Okay. Oh, you might have heard that. I don't know if you heard the Ghostbusters bit. This mic is so good at like just cutting out background noise and anything that isn't voices and words. Nice. Nope, silent dancing. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I'll keep that in mind. We usually do this every Sunday. Thank you very much. See, this is why I Am Girth is such a good mod. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's probably a good point to make. We're here every Sunday. Unfortunately, it is the same time, so it will be 3 a.m. for you, but we are here every Sunday, and live streams get uploaded after us being live. I call them playbacks. They're like, well, they're called playbacks. That's why I call them playbacks, because that's what they're called. So don't feel like you'll ever miss anything. It will get uploaded to the channel after we're live as well. Nope, still nothing. Interesting. Okay, so it plays Ghostbusters theme tune. That's why I've been worried, because it plays the Ghostbusters theme tune. Dun, 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 dun. I'll manage 3 a.m. too for this amazing experience. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Um, because usually I post on Tuesdays. I haven't for a while. Like the months are going by, and like it still feels like I've missed 3 or 4 weeks of Tuesdays, but actually it's turning into months. Because I am very busy. I'm very busy. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is Adam Gary Poetry. But I always go live on Sundays. And thank you, I am Girth. Uh, if you can become a channel member, I always go live or post a video on Thursdays for channel members as well. Um, and there's so many different perks. If you want your name down in the bottom where all that writing is going along, channel members' names appear. When I do post videos, they get credits at the end of videos. And as I say, exclusive content. And you get a little icon next to your name and a green name in the chat box as well. Thank you, I am Girth. This is what I mean. A round of applause for I am Girth. A round of applause for I am Girth for being just always there with links and just doing great work in the chat box. Thank you, I am Garth. You're the best. I think we might actually leave the stream there. I've subscribed a month ago. Oh, I accidentally clicked on subscription and then clicked the live, and I'm having a great time. Good, good, good. Well, I'm glad you accidentally subscribed, and hopefully now you are a what's the word? I hope now you are a dedicated subscriber instead of an accidental subscriber. It's great to have you here. Thank you so much for the hearts, but I think they might actually be for I am Girth. I'm going to take those hearts that just popped up for I am Girth. What a happy accident. Indeed, 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 indeed. Okay, guys, I think I will leave the stream there. So you haven't missed anything. You haven't missed anything for going to bed at 3 a.m. Thank you so much for staying up that late. I'm gonna leave the stream there. Next week is gonna be Halloween special. Let me know what you want to do for Halloween special. Hopefully, you never know in this country. Hopefully the trains don't get cancelled and I can make it back home from Scotland in time for the Halloween live stream. If not, then I'll do a stream from the train, or maybe I'll be stuck in Scotland. Who knows? But yeah, next week if all goes to plan, next week will be a Halloween special stream. I know that Poe has been mentioned, so I'll read The Raven, I think it was, that was requested. I'll read The Raven. I will do a Poe ASMR, because I said I would do that ages ago. Well remembered, Raven. And any other ideas, leave them in a comment on this video. If you're watching playback or if you're watching live and you've got an idea, leave it as a comment on this video. Anything you want to see me do for a Halloween special. Thank you so much, I am Gur, for being mod extraordinaire. Thank you everyone for being here, for staying up until 3 a.m. to watch. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Been an interesting stream tonight for sure, but it's been a good one. It's always a good time hanging out with you on Sundays. So happy writing. Love you guys. And until next time, see you later.